Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the 120th episode of the Philly Blitz podcast. I'm your host, Piero Baptiste. We are absent Parth today, and I'm here with Marquell. What's up, brother?
How you doing today, brother? Well beloved dub to those who celebrate. It is I, the one and only Mark Frip Owens. It's always sunny in Philadelphia. Of course, like I said last week, not as sunny as it is in Tampa Bay. Good to be back home.
I think a good starting point for us tonight is the situation that's the most talked about in Eagles land right now. AJ Brown, he had a chance to talk to the media this week, and he kind of walked back his tweet or post X, whatever you want to call it. He kind of took accountability for the drama it stirred up. What was your reaction when you kind of heard what he had to say?
Mm, really didn't take much to it. It was kind of exactly what I thought it would be. Glad that AJ took the time to get out in front of it because we usually don't hear from AJ at least on Wednesdays. So the fact that he took the time to get out in front of it lets you know that it really wasn't supposed to be something as big as it was. I mean, granted, like we touched on last pod, I mean, you kind of did it to yourself there, brother. But at the same time, I understood what his intentions was. I knew it wasn't with any hatred or malintent in his heart. It was just kind of a frustrating circumstance. I mean, when you want to win, everybody wants to win and everybody wants to contribute when they win. It's kind of like a human nature thing. So
Yeah. And so for me, as someone who kind of doesn't wear their heart on their sleeve at all, like in AJ, he's that type of person. It was dope to see him kind of take accountability for that. And kind of, just be a man about it and kind of say, hey, like I messed up. Like it wasn't my intention, but that was what happened. And so it was dope to see. It was dope to see. I think you could definitely tell somebody in the building talked to him. Like I tweeted it. Jeff Lurie sent the black SUVs to his crib. Cause like that opening statement, you could tell it was rehearsed. It was a little PR puff piece.
probably was more agent related than anything. I mean, I ain't gonna say nobody in the building didn't talk to him. I don't think they sent the big guns out, nonetheless. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if Dom
Dom
walking
definitely,
into
yeah.
him like, "Hey, AJ, you doing well? Everything okay? You sure?"
Well, yeah, man. Just wanted to touch on that before we get into the Eagles game this week, and it's an interesting matchup, man. It's a very, very interesting. Shout out Parth in the chat, man. I'm not hating on AJ, not hating on AJ. As I said last pod, bro,
Extremely nasty work, brother.
I just didn't like the way he handled it. I'm a fan of how he handled it afterwards in terms of walking it back. So we all good now. It's on to Denver. But yeah, the Eagles take on Denver Broncos Sunday 1 p.m. Really exciting matchup, man. Exciting matchup, specifically from the coaching standpoint. I think I texted you before we got on talking about the matchup between Sean Payton and Vic Fangio. How you think that's going? How you think that's going to go? What's your vibe?
I'm really intrigued by that coaching matchup as a whole. I mean, of course, we know Sean Payton is supposed to be a offensive genius, quarterback guru. We all know about his time in New Orleans. And here he is now trying to recreate some of that same success in Denver. I mean, to say it's been up and down, to say the least, it would not be an understatement. I mean, of course, Bo Nix had a really solid year last year. I mean, depends on, by the numbers, he had a really solid year. You could make an argument that he left some meat on the bone, but everybody has their own opinion on the guy. He's a very intriguing prospect to say the least. You ask 10 people about him, you might get 10 different answers. But
The way I phrased it in talking to a buddy earlier today, Bo Nix is the Sam Darnold of Baker Mayfield's.
I'm sorry, I almost messed up. Good thing I caught myself. For the rest of this podcast, he will no longer be referred to as Bo Nix. He would now be referred to as Mo Picks. Especially because that's my fantasy quarterback, y'all. I needed Bo Nix to score. I needed Bo
brother,
Nix to
brother.
score, brother. And I mean, I probably wouldn't have won anyway. He ended up putting on a good showing last week. But the fact that when he threw that interception on the 1 yard line, I knew my day was finished. I sat there and looked at the screen for 2 minutes, like I cannot believe he just did that.
I drafted him in one of my leagues,
Mo
brother. I never
Picks.
traded. Our comments going crazy for the audio listeners. But yeah, I drafted Bo Nix in one of my leagues, brother. I never moved off a quarterback faster. He's just too inconsistent, way too inconsistent. But before we get into the matchup itself, I'm gonna touch on the injuries here, just to start us off. For the Eagles, Dallas Goddard, he didn't practice on Wednesday. A good sign today. He was limited. He's dealing with a knee injury. Lane Johnson, he was limited on Wednesday, but he was a full go today. He's dealing with the shoulder. Jalen Carter, it's the same nagging shoulder, forearm injury. He was limited Wednesday. He was a full go today. Nakobe Dean, they opened up the practice window for him. He's been on the field this week. Then Adoree Jackson, he was limited on Wednesday. He was a full go today. He's dealing with the groin. And then Grant Calcaterra, he has not practiced all week. There's some sort of illness that he's dealing with. For the Broncos, they're relatively healthy. I think backup tight end Nate Atkins, he has a concussion. He didn't practice Wednesday, but he was limited today. Marvin Mims, wide receiver, I think he's their fourth wideout. Pretty sure, yeah. He's been limited
Is
all
he?
week. He's dealing with I think so, yeah, because it's Cortland Sutton, Troy Franklin, Evan Ingram ish.
That's a
No,
tight
he's tight
end.
end. Yeah, third receiver, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, Marvin Mims, he's been limited all week, dealing with the hip and ankle injury. Outside linebacker Jonah Ellis, he's been limited all week. He has rib injury. Nik Bonitto, he's on the injury report, but he's been a full go all week, so I'm pretty sure he's playing. Alex Singleton, old friend, he's on the injury report. He's also been a full go all week. He's dealing with a thumb injury. And then Quinn Miners, he did not practice today, but I imagine he's going to play. He's dealing with some sort of illness.
Definitely, man. So as we get into the matchup, you want to kick it off, or you want me to take the honors?
Yeah, I can kick it off. So this Broncos defense, it's a Vance Joseph defense, very aggressive. They're sixth in blitz rate, a lot of man coverage. They play the fourth most man coverage in the league. Predominantly a cover one, cover zero team. They're fifth in the league in both in terms of the rate at which they run those coverages. I think for the Eagles specifically, in terms of how they match up, I think it's a good opportunity to kind of force their hand, right? Like I see this being kind of similar to their approach in the Steelers game last year, where it's a ton of spread. You spread them out. You make them choose, right? So this is the game I think where passing offense should get back on track. I mentioned the Steelers game. Jalen after the game, he walked to the press conference, had a little oral with him. That's what y'all wanted to see. I feel like that's going to be a little bit of the same approach this week. Against Pittsburgh, when they played single high or cover one, Jalen had 17 completions, 205 yards, and specifically when targeting A.J. Brown, he was 10 to 12 for 140 yards. So, and I think, when you operate with like such a heavy man coverage or cover one approach, it kind of makes you more susceptible to, like I said, being spread out, right? Like you want to play single high, it's essentially pick your poison for the defense, right? They can hit you underneath or on the backside. They can hit you out of the backfield. Those intermediate seam rips that we've seen Jalen more confident in throwing to Dallas Goddard. I remember the first play of the game last year against Pittsburgh. It was the seam rip to, I think, Grant Calcaterra. So then, of course, you have AJ and Smitty one-on-one on the outside. So I think it's a game where this passing offense can get back on track.
Theoretically, everything you're saying is correct. I mean, like you touched on some of the numbers, but for the most part, a man coverage team, I believe they ran one man coverage at 40% of the time,
Fourth most
which,
in the league.
right. And the defense specifically is allowing just 16.8 points per game, which is second in the league. So they've been fairly stout. What stands out to me when you look at this defense is specifically the front and the back end. The linebackers are pretty susceptible. They can be gadding, but when you talk about the front four and then what they have going on in the secondary, it's a treat to watch what Vance Joseph does with some of these teams, with this team. Of course, like we said, what you see is what you saw kind of group. They don't really try to trick you, do anything to rotate pre to post snap, which you kind of see single half pre snap. It's probably going to be single half post snap. They do run their fair share of cover 5-2 at 2%, which is 10th in the league. But what stands out to me about the defense is they really they really don't. I don't want to say trust, but for lack of a better term, they really trust that front four we just talked about because they run dime at 18%, which is seventh in the league. And when you compare that to how often they run nickel and base, which are either middle of the pack or near the bottom of the league in terms of how often they do it, it's kind of them putting a lot of trust in that those front four. And it works out for them, man. When you look at, I just tweeted it before we got on. When you look at Jonathan Cooper and Nik Bonitto, those guys, they're
Dog,
problems coming off the edge, man. They
Bonito,
have some of the quickest get offs in the league, brother. Like they
Bonito was
race to the
killing.
quarterback.
Bonito was killing early this season, man. 27 pressures, 4.5 sacks. Like
I mean,
he's
you talking about a team that leads the league in sacks at
yeah,
15, and then when you talk about this Eagles team, who Jalen Hurts has been sacked and has been sacked twice in 3 of the last 4 games, and to say it wouldn't be a concern would be a lie, especially how the offensive line has been playing. And then, like I mentioned, the secondary. I mean, like you said, theoretically, this should be the AJ Brown game. I kind of touched on it a little bit during the last part, but I said we'll save all of it for today. This AJ Brown thrives against man coverage,
mm,
and he's been waiting for this kind of game specifically. And what makes this interesting is I want to see the chess match between Vance Joseph and Jalen Hurts. Does Vance Joseph stick to his guns? I mean, we just outlined for 5 minutes about how often they just play man coverage and blitz behind that man coverage. But we also seen the success that Jalen Hurts had against Todd Bowles and his pressures last week, and the struggles that Jalen Hurts had in the second half when Bowles switched to more of a simulated pressure look and just dropped 8 in the coverage, with them running all that down kind of plays a big factor as well. Does he kind of flip the switch and try to run more zone than man this game behind the pressure? Would be something interesting to watch. Does AJ Brown even get how often do we get to see the matchup of AJ Brown and Patrick Surtain? And even if it
so
isn't that,
so so I'm interested to pick your brain about this, right? So the corner opposite Pat Sertan, why is his name escaping me?
I'm talking about
Um
milkshake Coop.
Riley Moss. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Riley Moss. So I know that he is more of the bigger of the two, more physical. So do you think it's a possibility that like they just let Sertain follow Smitty and put Riley Moss on AJ?
Nah, actually seen somebody tweet this earlier in the week. They said if I'm Denver, they do give Riley Moss the early portions of the game on him with a little bit of help, of course. Man, just man him up, give him some help, try to frustrate AJ, and then come the second half, just let PS2 kind of do his thing over there solo with him, because by that point they think he would have been taken out the game. Now, of course, we've seen in that Rams game, the Eagles have no problem with waiting to the second half to throw AJ Brown the ball. But I mean, it's something to think about ideally, but I also don't think that they've specifically had PS2 watch some of the premier receivers in the league. And I mean, AJ Brown, while the numbers may not show it so far this year, he is among that group.
Yeah. And him and Pat Sertan, I don't think they've ever matched up in the NFL. I know they played one time in college, but like they haven't seen each other at the NFL level. I mean, I tend to agree with most of what you're saying. Like I was saying before, you went. I think this is theoretically at least this is a get right game for the Eagles passing offense on two conditions, right? If Kevin Patullo, and it goes back to my analogy that I had a couple pods ago, but if Kevin Patullo lets the sports cars out on the track, right? Meaning you don't coach to lose, you play to the strength of your players, and like AJ said, I think after the Rams game, let them be takers, right? Don't just take what they give you, right? Like if they're gonna blitz you, we're gonna throw it at you, right? And then number two, like you outlined, the offensive line, bro, they gotta protect, dog. You just outlined this is Denver pass rush, number one in sacks, number one in pressure rate and pressures. Like you gotta protect them. Lane Johnson, he's been in and out of the lineup, and I know like Jordan Mailata typically when he struggles, if he struggles, it comes against the type of rushers that Nik Bonitto is in terms of the kind of compact speed rusher edge guys, where like he's such like he's so massive from a size perspective. At times, he kind of gets a little like out leveraged, where his size is like a detriment to him because he can't change direction as fast, and then his pad level and everything like that. And Nik Bonitto fits that bill, so They're gonna have to protect Jalen.
Yeah, man, protecting Jalen has to be priority number one. As you can see, Parth in the comments with the lack of RPOs, that is definitely a big thing. Something that has been missing in the offense through this season, at least, where it feels like it could give them some answers through some of this the zone coverage struggles that we've seen or the simulated pressure struggles that we've seen with them. I'm eager to see exactly how, while we keep outlining with the edge of the edge rushers that Denver come with, I was highly intrigued by some of the production they were able to get from the interior as well. Where, I mean, we just talked about we need to get more from Landon Dickerson. We need to get more from
Cam
Cam
Jurgens.
Jurgens. I mean, Tyler Steen is doing the best that he can for the most part, but the front four, sometimes five, depends on how he wants to get, is the big issue here because Denver, while he's shown that he's more than comfortable sending all the pressure in the world, he's also shown that he's more than comfortable, like I said, dropping 8, 9 in the coverage and just sending 3 pass rushers. I believe they rank fifth in the league in the amount that they just send 3 towards the quarterback and drop everybody back. So they're a very versatile defense, to say the least.
Yeah, so something I'm thinking, you remember how when they used to play the Cowboys and Micah was there, like they did utilize a lot of the screen game, a lot of the RPOs, like Part said in the comments. Like, do you think against such a like aggressive front like this, an aggressive attacking defense, that kind of to use some of that aggressiveness against them, they'll try and utilize the screen game? I know they tried to set that up to Saquon a bit last week.
I mean, it's a possibility. I mean, they showed their hand, like you said last week, with that being one of the main go tos when the pressure was coming hot. At the same time, I like to think that this that matchup was a bad matchup for that because Tampa's cornerbacks, they're aggressive. They deconstruct blocks very well. So trying to get your receivers isolated on the outside to make those blocks and having them win 1-on-1 to win the screen game wasn't really going to work. Now this week, I don't know because you could say a lot of the same physical traits lie in this Denver secondary, but at the same time, they're not as physical as what you've seen last week in Tampa, especially when you look at it in the nickel.
Yeah, this is a good point about part in the comments here where he talks about getting Saquon active in the pass game, and I brought up the Steelers game earlier in terms of how the Eagles could approach this game because the styles of defenses are so similar. Well, last year against the Steelers, Kenneth Gainwell had 3 catches for 40 yards. So a lot when you're facing a defense that like I said, plays as much man coverage and cover one as Denver does, like I said, you can spread them out, right? And that leaves, Saquon on some underneath stuff so they can get him a little bit of action there.
Well, ideally, but we said the same thing last week and how that should have been the case against Tampa.
I
And
mean, he
it's
he,
not
he
like they
had he
tried,
had
they
three
didn't.
for he had 3 for 31, I think, right?
Yeah, I thought it was 41, but it might have been 31. But yeah, I mean, they tried to get him some production there. So again, it's good to know that this thought process is in the vote. If you're Kevin Patullo, and I mean, for me, Saquon Barkley, he might be the key to this game. I'll touch on that more later, but this we talking about get AJ Brown get right and how this could be big for the passing game and things of that nature. Maybe this might be with the doctor order for Saquon Barkley.
In terms of running the ball.
Both.
So give me what you're thinking.
So the first thing that comes to mind, I initially was thinking it started off in the pass catching department and how could Saquon Barkley make an impact? And you seen last week. I mean, granted, the Bengals could only do but so much in the first place, but Chase Brown was able to get his fair share of damage done in the air. But then you look back to, I believe it was the matchup in week 2 against the Indianapolis Colts, where Jonathan Taylor, I believe he had 2 receptions, but it was 2 receptions for 50 yards. Where he was able to make a massive difference as a pass catcher. But as I watched that game, I continued to look and I noticed Jonathan Taylor, who's been playing out of his mind this year, I must say. But Jonathan Taylor, I believe he put up like 150, 175 yards or something like that on the ground against Broncos team. So it makes me wonder how susceptible they are to be gashed on the ground.
Yeah. And I think it starts with the O line, like we just outlined, bro. Like Cam Jurgens, he has to play better. Landon Dickerson, I know he's dealing with injury, but he has to play better, right? Lane Johnson, he has to be in the lineup, right? So if they're gonna run the ball, right, like it starts up front. And we talked about it last pod, but like a lot of their run schemes or run concepts that they're running this year, it just seems like, at least to me, it's just a lot of the same inside zone up the middle and stack boxes. It was like you got to mix it up. Where's the stuff last year where you got Cam Jurgens on the move that saw him compared to Jason Kelsey and things like that? Like you got to be more diverse with what you're calling KP.
I mean, I keep telling you, brother, they are being diverse with what they're calling. It's just hard to
Not
be,
working.
yeah. It's when the offensive line is just not playing well as a whole. It's hard to sit there. And I mean, of course, when you look at the Eagles, their bread and butter is inside zone. So you probably do see more inside zone than anything, but it's not because of lack of trying on some of these other run concepts that they aren't having a success.
Yeah. So how do you think they can kind of get Saquon back on track? Like what do you think is the remedy?
Well, I do think Kevin Patullo was on to something when he mentioned utilizing Jalen Hurts in the run game. You have to make these defenders respect Jalen Hurts as a runner. Like even when you look at last week against Tampa Bay, there were like one or two plays that hit that he took being one of them, but one or two plays where they ran zone read and you could easily see Tampa Bay did not respect Jalen Hurts, the runner. Either they didn't respect it or they had too much respect for Saquon Barkley, the rusher. And it's like everybody, he's running into all these 8-man boxes, 9-man boxes, or just basically running in the backs of other players where there's no space to operate. Where first, if you allow Jalen Hurts to take some of that pressure off him, it might give him some space. Second and foremost, kind of like you outlined earlier about the Pittsburgh game, you got to spread the guys out. These condensed formations, they haven't worked all year. These bunch formations, they haven't worked all year. I mean, I understand it's supposed to be part of the game plan, but you got to understand we reached a point of the season where they kind of should have analytics and numbers behind this. If you and I are able to find the numbers to see how successful they are in these formations and personnels, they should have these numbers at their disposal as well. So they should know that this is not working right now and stop trying to stick square pegs and round holes, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, and like you said, we keep harking back to the Pittsburgh game, but like a lot of what they did was out of empty, right? And we talked about it, earlier in the season, but like get the QB draw game active, right? Like I said, spread them out, make them defend every blade of grass.
And that'll be important in a game like this because we have no idea exactly. You want to make this Denver defense identify itself early because, I mean, while we do think we have an idea how they like to attack, this this could easily be a tendency breaker game for them
Mhm.
because, like we just outlined, this is what the doctor ordered. Yeah, we've been struggling offensively, but this is exactly the kind of defense where we've seen success against. So why would you show them what they want to see? So, yeah, I mean, it all comes down to how the Eagles and Kevin Patullo continue to adjust. I mean, we kind of outlined it last week. Nick Sirianni also has to be able to pull back some, let let the guys have some fun, even if it's just for a half. Let the
And
guys
they're
play.
calling they're calling for it, right? Like after that Rams game, I alluded to it earlier, but yeah, AJ saying, they telling us take what the defense gives us, but let us be takers, right? Like you got Jalen, he didn't say let him out straight jacket, but like, let his playmakers play. Like let your guys do what they do well.
And
And I
it's so
like
hilarious
I
how.
don't
Oh,
I
good.
yeah, I don't understand like what KP's angle is. Like I get it, you're trying not to lose, you don't want to make a mistake and everything like that, but you have damn good football players. Let them do their thing. Like why what's with the trepidation?
I mean, we can talk in circles until our faces are blue. You know how I feel about the circumstance. I mean, if your opponents are going to fear you enough to beat themselves or be too terrified to basically they make the mistakes for you to win these games. I understand the thought process. I may not like it, but I think that's also a lot of what Jalen and a lot of the guys are saying. We may not like. We understand. That don't mean we like it. And it was funny to hear. We all talking about Saquon. I mean, not Saquon. We all talk about Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown, but Devonta Smith quietly didn't speak after the game either. And it's hilarious because AJ, when you look at when you listen to AJ talk during his interview, he kind of outlined that. I mean, I'm not the one doing the games that sit here and say I want the ball. That's Devonta. So I mean, you all. It's not just AJ and Jalen. You got guys like Devonta. Hey, I'm kind of, hey, Parth, can you let me cook? I was getting to that point. That's why you supposed to listen to the podcast and let the people prove the point. But I mean, of course, Devonta's is 100% frustrated as well. It's just he's not the one getting all the attention about it. But everybody, the entire offense is wrong. It's unhappy. It's just like I continue to harp on. Nick said this to say that all off season. He said it till he was blue in the face. In order for this thing to work, everybody was going to have to comment. I mean, we'll have to buy in. And I don't think everyone is bought in so far.
Yeah, and that's the problem. Like to me, that's the issue. Like I remember, if I think I'm remembering this correctly, but there was a video that the Eagles social media team put out where Sirianni was kind of going around the room and telling everybody what their roles and responsibilities were going to be, and how some games some guys would eat, other
Mm-hmm.
games other guys would eat,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't be frustrated if it isn't your day, right? So, like to me, it's a thing where buy in. You're winning.
Yeah, but you can't say buy in, you're winning, but then turn around and complain about. So let me rephrase. You could always want better, which I think is exactly what they're trying to
Yeah.
say. We want better for the offense,
Like it
but
shouldn't be this difficult to execute, right? Like when you have the level of talent that they have, it shouldn't be this hard.
yeah, but you also got to build some kind of consistency, and it's hard to build consistency when you playing this timid style of football, for lack of a better term. You're only doing something with it if it calls for it. You kind of like laying your hand, and we already talk about how this offense isn't the most complex, to say the least. You kind of just giving these defenses the leg up at this point.
Yeah. I don't know. Just like I say with defenses, but the best offense is an offense that dictates. You can't play scared and timid, man. You can't.
So as we move to the opposite side of the ball, this is what the people really should want to see.
Yeah, I'll give just a little bit of a synopsis here. For the Broncos offense, it starts with Bo Nix, right? Like they try to run the ball, they aren't really. Yeah, at least from what I've seen, it starts with Bo Nix, right? And I wouldn't call him, I guess, inconsistent, but it's more hot and cold kind of a situation where it's like, which Bo Nix are you gonna get on a week to week basis? Where it's like, is it the one who's confident, calm, working a pocket, not afraid to let it rip, or is it the jittery, erratic quarterback who's missing layups? And Vic Fangio, he made the comparison earlier this week. We talked about it earlier on the pod, but he said that Bo Nix is kind of Baker Mayfield esque. I think he said him and Baker could be brothers or something like that.
That's his little
So
brother. He
yeah,
was Baker's little brother.
and I see the comparison in that Bo can really like sling it when he's clean and when he's confident. He can sling it, right? He plays just like Baker in that he's not afraid to throw the ball down the field, tight window throws, everything like that. But at the same time, he has some of that Baker in him where if you pressure him, you force him, like I said, into tight window throws, you get him thinking a bit, you can beat him. He can be had. So in total for this Denver offense, they attack vertically, right? Like they want to get the ball to Cortland Sutton, Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims, Evan Ingram. They do run the ball with J.K. Dobbins, but they do some funky stuff like 22 personnel looks. Like I saw, I think against the Colts, they had a personnel package that had 6 different offensive linemen on the field, 2 tight ends, and a fullback. Where like pre-snap, they shifted the formation and ran play action out of it, and they scored. It was in the red zone against Indianapolis. Or they'll do something like run a freaking flea flicker on 3rd and 18 against the Chargers. So they like I said, they want to attack vertically. They can run the ball. The offensive line it protects. They one of the best offensive lines in the league with Quinn Miners,
Arguably the
Garrett Bowles,
best.
and the crew. Yeah. So
I don't know. I refuse to call them the best when you
one
got that
of
guy playing center that they got right now.
so you go ahead. What's your spiel?
Oh, so I guess for me, it's interesting to think for you to say that the offense operates through Bo Nix. I can understand why you would say that. For me, I actually think it's the complete opposite. I think the offense operates through the running attack first and foremost. I think Sean Payton wants to live and die by running the football. Now, he wants to take a lot of pressure off his young quarterback to start it off. You talk about a Saints team that is top 5 in rushing, averaging 143.3 rushing yards a game. I think J.K. Dobbins coming off his first 100-yard game. The Broncos are one of 4 teams, I believe they said, they have 100 yards and at least 100 yards rushing in every single game this year. So the emphasis is certainly there. Now, when you talk about how the offense wants to attack that running game kind of leads into how they want to attack throwing the ball with a lot of play action. They seldomly attach motion to it. They only use motion on 43% of their plays, which is last in the league. Sounds a little similar to a team that we know, but they do attach play action at 30%, which is 5th in the league. Now, when you talk about J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey, you talked about them and their 22 personnel that's kind of their bread and butter right now. I believe they run at the 7th most at 3%, where they want to keep those 2 running backs on the field. It's very reminiscent. Of course, it's a Sean Payton team, but it's very reminiscent. These guys remind me of Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram in the early stages of it, and how he
that's
really
a good
wants
comp.
to utilize.
That's a good comp.
I mean, of course, just look at how he really wants to utilize R.J. Harvey. Look at the last touchdown that they scored on Monday night where R.J. started out wide, motioned to the backfield, and just ran the real route where he is supposed to be what Sean Payton calls the joker position. Now, they're still trying to ease him into there, but the offense really thrives on what them 2 can do. To give you guys some context, here's how the target distribution is from Bo Nix. 58% of their targets go to the wide receiver position, which is 22nd in the league. Running back, 22% of their targets go there, which is 9th in the league. And then for the tight end position, 21% of their targets go there, which is 19th. So again, they kind of live and die on trying to get these running backs the ball. Now, Cortland Sutton, when they do want to throw the ball, Cortland Sutton and Troy Franklin, who you guys know, if you guys listen to my draft podcast, you guys know I have a love-hate relationship with Troy Franklin. He's my MVS. But he does all the great things to get open, just got to catch the ball. He had a couple of those on Monday where we talking about, I mean, he had a solid game, but we could be talking about probably 150-yard performance if he just catches 2 of the deep balls that are there for him. So between him and Cortland Sutton, who's coming off back-to-back 80-yard games and has a touchdown in 3 of the 4 games, they got a few little weapons there offensively.
Get ready to learn Quinyon Mitchell, buddy.
That's the fun part about it, because we talked about the Saints and not the Saints. We talked about the Broncos and their willingness and want to play man coverage. Well, we've been playing a whole lot of man coverage ourselves. It's living and dying in cover 1 and just telling Quinyon, go cover the best guy in the league and we'll live for the rest.
When you got a corner who's as talented as Quinyon, you have that as a luxury.
But I bring that up because, like you said, you're ready to learn Quinyon, buddy. I'm intrigued to see. I talked about those 1 or 2 opportunities, the game that they give Troy Franklin. You spoke about how they want to attack vertically. The opportunity is going to be there. The opportunity will be there for them to attack vertically. Troy Franklin gets matched up with. I'm eager to see who starts at cornerback. Adoree Jackson was a full participant today, like you said. I don't think that they
gotta be Keeley.
Yeah, I'm about to say after the game, I don't think that they take Keeley out, but this is what the people want to see here. Key League, you might get the ball coming your way early and often in this game, buddy.
And then it's like, especially when you consider, Sean Payton and the offensive mind that he is, like, he's no slouch. Like, this dude has seen a lot of football, right? So, like, I'm pretty sure he's gonna attack what he perceives to be the weak links in this defense. That's Makuba,
Mm-hmm.
because he can tend to be out of position. That's my
Mm-hmm.
dog, but I gotta call it like I see it. And then Keely Ringo, like, he's gonna go after them,
And I just know he's sitting there drawing something up. He's
brother,
watching that
brother.
that blown coverage from Makuba last week that resulted in a 70-yard touchdown. Like, I think I can draw you up to be in that same spot. I just need
And
him to
that's a
bite.
Yeah, and that's a lot of what Sean Payton does, because, like you outlined, right? Like, it's a nice group of skilled players, right? Like, they aren't well beaters. Just like you said, Cortland Sutton, Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims, Evan Ingram, J.K. Dobbins, R.J. Harvey. They do a lot scheme wise to kind of confuse defenses and kind of stress, I guess, the communication that you have on the back end. So, like we said, like, he's gonna go after what he perceives to be the weak links.
Yeah, man. And I'm really intrigued by this rushing attack. The Eagles gonna have to be better against the run this week.
Yeah, it's a lot of gap scheme, the same stuff that they struggled with against the Rams.
Hmm. And what really intrigues me is when we talked about Fangio and his willingness to send pressure. Well, RJ Harvey, in his attempts at least that he's gotten in 6-man boxes, he has 3 carries for 22 yards, which for context, that's 7 yards a carry. And against 7-man boxes, he has 4 carries for 23 yards. So he's he's been very successful against some of these blitz looks and these packed boxes. They again, like I said, I think they really want to run the ball. They try to do a lot of things to make life easy on Bo Nix. It's
Yeah.
very rare that he doesn't have a, what do you call it, snake oil salesman like play drawn up that everything is kind of simplified for him to work through.
Yeah, and I think that's why, me personally, and I know you have your gripe with Bo, but I like the pairing between Bo and Sean Payton, right? Like, I
Yeah.
think you can clearly see the kind of selling point with Bo, where he has a bit of a live arm, like he can beat you with his legs, kind of mobile, has a little bit of attitude, white boy spunk to him, right? And then, you combine that with Sean Payton and, his ability to kind of simplify things for younger quarterbacks, and, sequence plays and design plays and attack matchups, like we just alluded to, in terms of seeking out matchups and everything like that. Like, I think it's, huge for a young QB to have a resource like that. And I think, so far this year, we've seen that from Bo, right? Like, I think from, I have it here in my notes, weeks 2 through 4 this year, he's 10th in total EPA and completion percentage over expected. So the impact that Sean Payton is having on him, like, it's a really, really good impact.
Yeah, man. Like, I believe I was looking through as I was doing my research, and I mean, you could say he was having he just had his coming out party this last week. I mean, he's always been quite efficient. I believe he had a game where he was 22 for 30, but it was only resulting in like 156 yards or something of that nature. But then you see games like last night where you're midway
Last week,
through. Oh yeah, last week. Sorry. Then you're midway through. It's still Monday. I mean, it's still Tuesday if you ask me. You midway through the third quarter and he already has 35 passing attempts. Like, I really think last week was, again, a get right game for them. They were able to, as I was listening to a Broncos podcast, you heard someone refer to it as a preseason game, which, I mean, no disrespect to the Bengals or anything, but you were
brother,
kind of able to
brother,
work out the
brother,
kinks.
brother. That defense, and I'm gonna say it, is hashtag not good. They got no pieces.
They got pieces. They just not good.
Send Trey Hendrickson our way. We need some pass rush juice.
He got to stay healthy himself. He went in and out that game, but just it gave them an opportunity to get everything right. Just talked about how they were able to get RJ going as both a runner and a pass catcher. You got Dobbins over 100 yards for the first time this season, and you kind of allowed Bo Nix to work out some of the kinks that had plagued him early in the year. He was kind of going through what I guess we would call here Jalen Hurts syndrome. Very efficient, yeah, cool, but I feel like you're a lot of meat being left on the bone where the offense could thrive if you just kind of let it loose a little bit more.
Yeah, and
And
Bo, he
that's what this was for. This week was for.
yeah, and Bo, he's such an interesting guy where it's like the dude has seen a lot. Like, what was he? How
Like a
many years
five,
was he in
six
college?
years,
6, 7
5 or 6 years
years?
starter.
Yeah, he's seen a lot, and so like I said, him having the wealth of knowledge in terms of Sean Payton as his head coach, play designer, play caller, everything like that, like kind of finding a meshing point between those two elements, like it's huge for him. Like I said, you can see, I think you can see the potential in him.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's been very fun. I know I give Bo hell, but it's been very fun watching the growth of not just him as a player, but the relationship between play caller and quarterback is such a generous one. It could easily be so good or so bad, and you can see through certain aspects. You look at Sean Payton as the camera pans through him as Bo just did something stupid, and the look on his face like, oh my gosh, this kid. But he allows Bo to come. He talked to him. He might curse him out a little bit, but they work through it. And he see him on the next possession. He doesn't call plays any more timid. He says, "I'm gonna
Mhm.
still let you let it rip, kid. Just don't make the same mistakes." And he allows him to make his mistakes and grow while in the same breath of doing that. They run their bubble screens, their RPO, their quick game, the little things that allow him to be comfortable that he always thrived in.
And I think like, and this might put us off on a tangent, but I think that's what's missing a lot of times for younger quarterbacks in the league. Like they aren't awarded the opportunity to make mistakes, right? And me and you, we've talked about it a lot, but in terms of quarterbacks who don't necessarily have or receive the reps at the collegiate or high school level, then they get to the league and it's like you're expected to produce, where it's like
I think
you
we're
kind of can't.
seeing I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I think we're seeing a lot more nowadays than what we have seen over the last, let's say, decade or so. Like Titans and Cam Ward, they're not playing really good football right now. But you
In the
can
words
see
of
Brian Callahan.
in the words of Canton Ward, what do you say? We ask right now.
But you can see Brian Callahan. I mean, he's letting his young quarterback work through it. In New York, I mean, I'm sure their growing pains will come, but you can see you already seen Jackson Dart and Brian Dable on the sideline. We got our effing guy. Like the relationship between play caller and quarterback is just so pure when it's correct. And it's kind of right. You're right. That is what we're missing, but it's hard to have that when you don't have a damn play caller consistently.
Yeah,
So, what can you say?
yeah. But all right, let's get into matchups to watch and predictions. You want to go first for the Eagles' offensive matchup to watch versus the Denver defense?
Eagles offensive matchup to watch versus the Denver defense. I kind of gave you guys a head start on it earlier, but it's Saquon Barkley against this Denver front four. Saquon Barkley has to be able to get it going. This again, if not now, then never. We talked about for 20, 30 minutes about how this could be a great game for the Eagles passing game to become a thing. They're gonna try. I'm sure that like we brought up the Pittsburgh game. This game reminds so much of the Pittsburgh game in so many different parallel ways because I'm sure that they've heard all the noise. They're going to come out and make emphasis on throwing the ball. Well, Denver heard it too, and they're going to want to make sure that you guys continue to struggle on throwing the ball. So that leaves room for you, Saquon Barkley. I talked about the success Jonathan Taylor had against this defense, as both as a runner and as a pass catcher. Parth in the comments outlined what Saquon could be as a pass catcher. We talked about what he did last week as a pass catcher. The stage has kind of been set for the Saquon game. I feel like with this Eagles team, we keep talking about, well, it's only a matter of time before, like, when they figure it out, they're going to be scary. I don't think they're all going to figure it out in one single game. It's kind of going to be, it's like lighting a fuse. They're all figure it out as they go. This could be the AJ Brown game, but if I had anybody or whose game it could be, I think it's the Saquon Barkley game. And when that wakes up, I feel the rest of the offense wakes up with it.
Yeah. So for me, I'm gonna go Jordan Mailata versus Nik Bonitto, right? Like we outlined it, but Nik Bonitto, 27 total pressures, leads the league in pressures, 4.5 sacks. Like he's the dude is playing out of his mind. And like we talked about, man, this Denver defense, it's no doubt is very good, right? Like they have the horses up front and on the back end with Patrick Surtain and the crew, but for the Eagles, and like I outlined earlier in the pod, we know about their success against teams that want to operate like this, that want to play heavy man coverage, a lot of cover one. Like I said, I think this is the game where they can get back on track. And like I talked about, that hinges on protecting Jalen Hurts, right? And that starts with keeping tabs on Nik Bonitto, right? I used the term when we were up in Philly, whiteboard player in week one and during the Dallas preview pod to say that Dallas had none defensively, right? Like I just said, Denver has two in Pat Surtain and Bonitto. And, if Denver's coverage, is sound and Bonitto is winning consistently against Mailata and, he's able to get the Jalen, that plays right into Denver's hands, right? So the key is it's on Mailata, man. You got to keep Jalen clean, like I've outlined. If this is a get right game for the Eagles passing offense, he's got to be protected so he can get the ball to Dallas, so he can get the ball to Smitty, and of course AJ.
Before we get to defense, over under on Jalen Hurts runs. I mean, assuming that we see the man coverage pressures that we assume we're gonna see.
We counting tush pushes?
No.
I'll say 6.
How many of those do you think are scrambles?
All 6.
Okay. So
You mean
no
wait? You mean like
runs.
designed?
All Jalen Hurts runs, design runs, scrambles.
Oh. I'm gonna go high. I'm gonna go 10. I think you'll see like 4 or 5 that are designed, and then the other 6 or 5, those are just scrambles.
I can dig it. I can dig it. I guess defensively, my player to watch it, the player in the matchup to watch, really shouldn't be a surprise. Jalen Carter, you sir, coming off the best game of the season, getting matched up 1-on-1 with Luke Wattenberg, who's coming off a game where he was checks notes flagged 5 times with 3 of them accepted. This going against a Bengals defense that Pierre referred to as #not good. I mean, Sean Payton came to his defense after he was asked about it. And he said, look, he's playing well. He may not have, it was a handful of penalties he didn't agree with. But I mean, what can you say? You got to come for your guy, especially when the offensive line as a whole was playing very well. But if there was a matchup and if there was a game for Jalen Carter to also kind of cut it on, I mean, like we said, the game last week against Tampa was probably his best game of the season. Showed a lot of flashes. I believe he and Jordan Davis, they kind of have to continue the coming alive party because Lord knows we're not getting home before.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, Moro Jomo look like he coming alive too, man. He
Yeah,
had his best game of the year last week.
But how much of that? So do you correlate to Jalen Carter also having his best game of the year?
Of course, like that's the formula. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, they take the double teams. You free up everybody else one-on-one.
Respectable. So what about on your end?
And Parth would say this is a cop-out, but I alluded to it
Don't
all
worry,
pod.
I'll do it, Parth. I'm not trying to hear that, man. Pick a position.
It is, man.
Pick a player.
It's what I'm watching. It's what I'm watching. The chess match or checkers match, whatever you want to call it,
Checkers
between Fangio and Sean Payton, right? Like, look at the way Sean Payton and this Broncos offense want to operate. Like I alluded to, its vertical approach in terms of the passing game, the depth that they have at receiver. Parth booing me in the comments. It's all good, brother. But Keely Ringo, he played well last week. Well, like I said, like I'd be lying if opposite Quinion and Coop, it's not a question mark. And we talked about it all pod. Sean Payton, he's gonna target what he perceives to be a weak link. So what is Fangio's counter, right? Like we talked about it in terms of the Bengals offensive line. They've been really, really good this year, right? Like Garrett Bowles is PFF's #1 overall graded offensive lineman this year. Ben Powers and Quinn Miners, they've only allowed 2.4 pressure rate percentage on dropbacks this year, right? And then, you consider the Eagles and their lack of ability, like you just outlined, to generate pressure from just sending 4 or just from the edge. What is Vic going to do to combat this, right? What is he going to do to speed up Bo Nix? Is it going to be sim pressures? Is it just more blitzing? Is it disguising on the back end, pre to post snap to give Bo something to think about? Like, I'm really, really fascinated to see what his approach is.
So as I'm looking into it, Bo Nix has been blitzed on just 34.2% of his dropbacks this season. He has a 63.8 completion percentage, 276 yards, 3 touchdowns to 1 interception, and has only been sacked twice with 3 scrambles behind it. So he's playing fairly well against the blitz this year, but it also seems like he hasn't been blitzed much. We'll see if that changes against Fangio.
That's why I'm like, what is Vic's approach, man? How is he gonna go at it?
So, what's the prediction?
I think this is going to be a really competitive game. Besides what most people have been saying on Twitter, I think I've seen people saying the Eagles are going to railroad this team, and I see why. Like Bo Nix, he can tend to be, like I said, hot or cold. I think I text, yeah, I text you. I referred to him as the what is it? What's the
Dr. Jekyll Hyde?
Dr. Jekyll, and Mr. Hyde of quarterbacks. Like depends on which Bo Nix you're gonna get, but Sean Payton has him playing really good right now, and like we talked about, this Denver defense among the best in the league. But this Eagles offense, like against this Denver defense, the way they play, they're in line to get on track. So, of course, I'm gonna go Eagles, but I think it'll be a high scoring game. I'm gonna go Eagles 34, Denver 31 on a Jake Elliott game winning field goal.
This the Eagles defense. They have to have a big game, man. The Broncos have scored 28 points in 2 of their last 3 games. Bo Nix, Bo Nix has been sacked once or less in 3 of the last 4 games. They're taking care of Bo. We talked about how great that they're running the football right now. That being said, if you're this Eagles team, this is the closest thing that you're going to get to a get right game. And again, this is no disrespect to the Broncos, who, just like the Eagles, who can't just seem to blow anybody out, and all their games have to be close games. Well, 3 of their 4 games have been close games, with the exception of last week against that Bengals team, who we know what you said about them. It's not going to be an easy game. This is going to be hard fought. The Eagles probably do win this game off the strength of it being at home. I'd be a little bit more intrigued on Denver's aspect if this game was in Denver. But them having to come to Philadelphia, Bo Nix on the road in this environment, I'm going to go Eagles 24, Broncos 20.
I respect it. Let me ask you this before we get out of here, right? What do you think AJ Brown's response or reaction or mood is if in this game Devontae Smith has 8 catches, 115 yards, a touchdown, Dallas Goedert 4 catches, 57 yards, a touchdown, and AJ Brown has 2 catches for 13 yards?
I don't think he's satisfied, but I think he'd be content. It's a start. If everything that he was saying when he was speaking was the truth, I mean, he outlined about how he's not just doing this for him, he's doing this for everybody. When he caught the sluggo on the next play, Dallas Goedert was wide open down the seams. It helps everybody. So if it's a everybody eats thing, then he should be content with the results because we're making progress at the same time, like we outlined. Everybody ain't just trying to sit here and not contribute. That's like all of us being here on a podcast, having all these viewers, and ain't nobody say a word.
What I will say though, AJ kind of saved Kevin and Jalen and all of them from a lot of scrutiny because that's been the main talking point with this team. But let's not forget, they did not complete a pass in the second half. So
yeah, but A lot. I think that was attributed to a lot of things. Them taking their foot off the gas, Tampa changing their defensive approach. It was a perfect storm. Which,
Jalen could have also potentially been concussed.
yeah, but between them saying that they let they took him into the tent, and apparently he got cleared. And I heard him speak after the game. That's what I was looking for. Like I want to see him do an interview. And he did an interview, and it sounded like good old fashioned Jalen Hurts, if you ask me. But
Bro
possibly.
got bro got his responses programmed into his head like a robot, bro. Even if he did have a concussion, it wouldn't change
I
nothing.
don't know, man. You saw what he looked like that last time on Monday night, or when we beat the Commanders. Man was off the
My
loopy
dog,
pills.
my dog had the shades on.
You're a Washington guy, right?
But I think that's gonna do it for this episode of the pod. I appreciate all 77 of you who tapped in, even Mr. Brian Warner in the comments who was uh talking about the Broncos gonna put a whooping on us this week. Appreciate you for tapping in, brother. I don't know if this is your first time tapping in, but thank you for taking the time out your day, night to tap in with us. Shout out to Parth. He's doing great things right now. He got his head in the book. But yeah,
Scholar.
yeah, we're gonna release this as a pod tomorrow. So if you're listening after the stream on whichever podcast streaming platform you're listening on, be sure to leave us a like and a review. Rate us 5 stars. We're gonna be back early next week to break this game down, and we'll also preview the Eagles' next Thursday night football matchup. But thank you for listening,
Thursday
everybody.
night.
Did I say Thursday?
You're right. It is Thursday night. It's just odd not having a game on a Sunday.
Yeah. But that's gonna do it for this episode. Appreciate you, everybody. Go Birds.
Go Birds. Wait. Shout out to Quinyon who locked up this week. Go Eagles.